Ødegaard is one of the best players in the Premier League right now, and he has his Premier League Player of the Month award for November-December to show for it. He is one of the major reasons Arsenal currently sits on top of the league table by 8 points and are looking likely to win the league. The 24-year-old has been really amazing in the midfield for Arsenal this season, acting as a link between defence and attack, creating chances, providing assists, and of course, scoring goals. This version of Odegaard is the best attacking midfielder Arsenal have had since Mesut Özil, before the 2017-18 season. So, you know what? Let's now compare Ødegaard and Özil in their prime. Surely, we all agree that Ødegaard is currently in his prime, right? I mean, he's having the best campaign of his career in terms of goals, assists, and even appearances, so that's not in doubt. Özil, however, you could say his prime was perhaps between 2008 and 2012 in Germany and Spain. During that period, the former Germany international was absolutely unplayable, arguably the most creative player on the planet at the time. But then, since we're comparing him to Ødegaard here, we'll focus strictly on his time at Arsenal, which was also pretty good in general, if we're being honest. So, Özil joined Arsenal in 2013 and left in 2021. But honestly, his last decent season at Arsenal was the 2017-18 season. In those 5 years between 2013 and 2018, Özil was that guy. His numbers were absolutely out of this world. On his debut for Arsenal, he provided an assist for Olivier Giroud, and that was only a sign of things to come. He went on to provide 14 assists and score 7 goals in 42 appearances that season. That's as good as 1 goal contribution in every 2 games. Very impressive. Of course, those debut season numbers are better than those of Ødegaard in his debut season. The Norwegian managed only 2 goals and 2 assists in his first season at Arsenal. But it's important to note that he only joined in January, and his contributions to the gameplay in those 6 months were more than enough for Arsenal to immediately make his transfer permanent. Of course, the following season, Ødegaard did better, scoring 7 goals and providing 5 assists in 40 games that season. Still not Özil numbers, but remember that when Özil joined Arsenal, he joined as a 25-year-old with years of experience having played for Madrid, Werder Bremen and Schalke 04. But when Ødegaard moved to the Emirates, he was a 22-year-old raw talent who had hardly been given the opportunity to grow anywhere he went, bar Real Sociedad. But right now, in his 3rd season in England, at 24 years of age, we are now witnessing Ødegaard's peak. And that could just go on for years. He currently has 8 goals and 5 assists in 17 Premier League games this season. And that means that no Arsenal player has had more goal contributions than him so far this season. As a matter of fact, no midfielder has more goals or more goal contributions in the Premier League than Ødegaard so far this season. That's how impressive the Arsenal captain has been. But the big question is, can he match Özil's numbers in his 3rd season at Arsenal? Özil scored 6 goals and provided 19 assists in 35 Premier League games back in the 2015-16 season. Those were some really crazy numbers. If the Playmaker Award had been introduced back then, he'd have been the recipient that season, as he finished as the top assist provider in the Premier League in the 2015-16 season. Will Ødegaard be able to reach 25 goal contributions this season? At this rate, he just might. But you know what's crazy? He might not even have to match those numbers for him to outdo Özil's impact. Here's what we mean. Özil is a legend, no doubt. His numbers were just absolutely untouchable, and the 2015-16 season was the peak of his Arsenal career as far as the numbers are concerned. But then, he and Arsenal ended that season trophyless, only finishing 2nd to Leicester City on the Premier League table. So it begs the question, how much impact did those crazy numbers then have on Arsenal that season? Now, compare that with the season Ødegaard is currently having. He could yet outdo Özil's 2015-16 numbers, but even if he doesn't, with the way things are going, he could realistically lead Arsenal to their first Premier League title in nearly 2 decades. And that would easily be a greater impact than Özil had on Arsenal. And he gets extra points because Ødegaard will be doing it as club captain. But that's surely not to take away from Özil's impact at Arsenal, not at all. The season he moved to London, Arsenal were going on 9 years without a trophy, after having last won the FA Cup in 2005 at the time. But Özil came and helped the club break that trophy drought in only his first season, inspiring the club to win the FA Cup in the 2013-14 season. So, in a way, you could say that Özil paved the way for Ødegaard, because once Arsenal won that trophy after a long wait, you could tell that they felt like winners again. They went on to successfully defend their FA Cup title and added the Community Shield the following season. Özil would then go on to inspire them to win yet another FA Cup in 2016-17, and then they went on to also win the Community Shield in 2017. They also got to the final of the EFL Cup in the 2017-18 season and the final of the Europa League in the 2018-19 season. So, Arsenal pretty much went from being a club who had not won anything for close to a decade to becoming something of a serial winner during Özil's era. That's some crazy impact right there. You can't take that away from Özil. And you could say the club staggered for a bit without him in the team. It's surely no coincidence that Arsenal finished outside European places for the first time in several years the season Özil started being sidelined, and the following season the story was the exact same. But then, the heir to Özil's throne has come in and helped stabilise the ship, and Arsenal are now back and better. Honestly, it'd be really hard to argue that Özil had more impact at Arsenal than Ødegaard is currently having if the Norwegian manages to inspire the Gunners to the Premier League title for the first time since the Invincibles won it in 2004. But it's also very important that we do not let ourselves be distracted by how things ended with Özil and Arsenal, and then go ahead to downplay Özil's impact at the club. He walked so Ødegaard could run. If you watched Arsenal in the late 2000s into the 2010s and saw how difficult it was for the Gunners to win trophies, then you'd appreciate Özil's impact at the club. Coming in and helping the club break a trophy drought in your first season and then going on to win 3 more, that's actually very impressive. But as an Arsenal fan, when you venerate Özil, the hope is that his successor will go on to be better than him. And considering that the two midfielders have a lot in common and are 10 years apart, there's surely a lot Ødegaard can learn from the OG to improve his own game. Already, we can say that Ødegaard is a better goal scorer than Özil, right? I mean, the numbers seem to corroborate that. Özil has scored 8 or more league goals in just 2 seasons in his entire career. But barely halfway through the season, and Ødegaard already has 8 in the Premier League. However, when we talk about creativity, Ødegaard still has a lot to do to catch up with Özil. And it's not even because Ødegaard is bad, it's just that Özil is a very high bar. He is arguably the most creative midfielder of his generation. Yes, prime Özil was that good. So, if the Norwegian can get up to like 70% of prime Özil's vision and creativity, then he might just be the perfect midfielder. But then, think about this for a second. Still with a lot of room for improvement, Ødegaard might inspire Arsenal to win the league. Now think about what will happen when the 24-year-old fully matures and reaches his peak. Man, we are in for some really scary hours ahead of us. The rest of the Premier League should be very afraid. Anyway, we want to hear from you guys. If you had to, who would you pick? Özil in his first 3 seasons at Arsenal, or this current version of Ødegaard? Let us know in the comments.